Hello and welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for dropping by. If you're a first-time viewer, hopefully you like it and you stick around and subscribe and put that bell thing, because apparently that tells people when the next episode's up. If you're one of those ones that have liked, commented, shared, added suggestions, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Now this week we actually are going to be fitting the Brembo RCS19 and 16 clutch and brake levers. And yeah, I know I've said it a few episodes before where we're going to fit it, and I haven't. And that's because I've had massive dramas. Now I'm just going to have to hold for 1 sec because I've just had a customer knock on the door. And the customer, have you made an appointment?
Oh, sorry, mate.
Did you read the email?
Hey?
Did you read the email that I sent you?
Yeah, no, but I just wanted to have a look.
Yeah, but did you read what I said? You need to make an appointment to look at your own bike.
Oh, sorry. I'll ring you and come and see you later.
Yeah, just hang 5. Customers, they're just crazy. So sorry about that. Customers getting in the way of my filming and our channel. Funny thing is, I actually sent him away and he didn't even get to look at his bike that he's spending thousands for me to detail. But it's going to be worth it. I did it for his own benefit, because if he sees it now and then sees it after, he's not going to have the same impact of when you see something. You can't sort of undo something when you've seen it. So, but anyway, back to what we're talking about. So yeah, Brembo RCS19 and the clutch RCS16. We've had massive dramas in fitting it because of clearance issues with the switch blocks and also the ride-by-wire big throttle housing that Ducati uses. Now, I've heard and seen there's always been issues when people fitting these to sort of street bikes, but I thought that I was better and I knew better and I could move things around, and I kind of did, but probably not as much as I needed to for safety, and also to make sure that the actual tip of the lever hits the bar before anything else fails. In case of, you know, like heavy braking, an emergency brake, you don't want anything fouling. And it has to be done right, because remember, I've got that thing in my head, if it's not right, then I won't do it. So, yeah, so we're going to be fitting RCS levers. We're also fitting the CNC, which I love, the CNC I'll show you here, the carbon fibre reservoirs. Now, these aren't the ones I'm actually going to be fitting. My ones have Pramac, but still waiting 8 weeks for them, so that's awesome. Thank you so much, CNC. It's not actually their fault because they don't make carbon, they do CNC, like metal, aluminiums, titanium, so they get it from another manufacturer in Italy, so I can't be too upset. But anyway, we're going to use these to mock up. We're going to use both small canisters. I think from memory they're 15 mil, the small ones, and the big ones are 22 mil. You'll probably go, but hang on a sec, brake's always bigger than the clutch. Yes, that is correct, but the reason that manufacturers make the bigger, here, I'll show you here, the bigger canister for the brake side is because if that all the way runs out, you're still going to have enough fluid, hopefully, in the system to still make the brakes work. So you can swap that size out for this size. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm not advising you to do it. In fact, don't do it, because I only want to be the only one that looks cool, me and my clients. So you just stick with your big and small like that, whereas I'm going to have 2 small ones. But no, as long as you check the fluid, like the little window, they give you a window. As long as you sort of glance over that every time you sort of ride and you make sure that it's, you know, there's a line or there's not a pool of brake fluid next to your bike when you go to ride it, you're pretty much safe in using a smaller canister for your brake and small for your clutch, so it matches. There's nothing worse than having a big and small one. It just looks kind of weird, especially on a naked bike where they're so visible. So yes, we're going to be fitting them. We're also going to be using a pretty cool system that CNC do. Not a lot of people know about it because you've got to kind of look in their website, and when you sort of see it, you kind of scroll past it. But what it is it's actually this bolt or pin. So this actually goes through your standard, or if you've got RCS levers, so it gets rid of that Allen key bolt that goes through to, you know, basically attach the lever to the brake master cylinder. But it actually has thread inside, which means that you can use a bracket and screw it straight on, so we can actually get rid of this whole bracket assembly, so it makes it nice and smooth and flat, but also lowers it down, so it's going to look really stealthy. So we're going to be fitting those as well. The other thing we're going to be doing is the throttle tube from CNC, and I'll explain later on why we're doing that. We're also going to be going the bar ends carbon from Pramac, a couple of little tips with that. And then in order to make the Brembo stuff fit, I had to lean on my counterpart over in Queensland. His name's Matt. Thank you so much, Matt, for all your help. We spoke to a company over there, Track Pro in Queensland, because we needed switch blocks. We needed to swap them out for the race style switch blocks, which are like this one here. And we need to use these to give us more, obviously, room to push out the RCS braking clutch so it actually works correctly. So these are actually made for the Streetfighter. They're all plug and play, which means that we can remove the stock switch blocks, not have to cut wires or damage anything, and then plug these in, and it gives us so much room. So I'm gonna probably cut it now, and I'll actually go on the bike and I'll show you sort of exactly how it all works, because I've already fitted the throttle side to give you an idea of how it actually works, but also how much room it gives you and how cool it looks. So I didn't actually want to have to go this route, and the whole reason that I've had to waste probably 2 or 3 weeks and spend even more money is because I wanted to save money. So sometimes it's not worth trying to save money, but hear me out. I wanted to go the carbon levers from CNC Racing to match the bar ends. Now, the Pramac carbon levers were really, really expensive, and I thought, oh, they're so expensive, and only for a couple of bucks more, I could actually get the whole Brembo RCS clutch and brake. Like, obviously, you know, I'm left and right, same price. And I just thought, well, how cool is that? I get a whole thing and it's a performance upgrade and it's gonna look cool and it comes with the lever already, so I don't need to buy it. So that's the whole reason why I went this way. But then hindsight, I had to then go spend even more money on the switch blocks to make it work. So I haven't actually saved any money, and I should have just spent the money to buy the carbon levers to match in with the carbon, you know, handguards, but it didn't kind of work. But then in the same story, it's still going to look cooler with, you know, race style switches. So I'll show you the actual switch block on the throttle side and yeah, sort of run you through, because I've got a bit of a mock up there. So let's go have a look. Okay, so this is a bit of a close up for you. So we've got the 19 fitted up, and we can see this little white cross. That's where the original brake, like the original brake master cylinder was mounted on the handlebar, and that gives you obviously how, you know, the angle of where it needs to be. So you can see how much further we've got in, because when we used to push this down, this would actually hit, round about there would hit onto that because it was so far out. So had to get rid of the switch block. So just give me one sec. So this was the original switch block here. So that used to go there, and that starts it and all that type of stuff. I think it went, yeah, like kind of like that. So you can see how much space we've actually saved bringing it across. Also, others keen eyes will note that this is the CNC throttle tube. So I've already fitted that because while I was there. And then this is just to show you the CNC mount point. So, because there's no other places to mount it using the RCS range, so for your canisters, and that's just one of them that's mocked up. Now, the only other thing I need to point out is that I still didn't have enough room with the Jet Prime switch blocks, and I had to kind of put it upside down to make it work. So if we sort of, I'm going to see if I can bring you around here. Okay, so this is a bit of a close-up for you to see the throttle side switch blocks. Now, I think they may have sent me the wrong, or it might have been boxed up wrong back in Italy, but it obviously works for the V4 Streetfighter. It plugs in, everything runs good. Just the actual decals or what the actual switches are for are a little bit wrong. So it does, you know, you press that, it starts. That one there's your ignition. This one here's your heater grips. If you have heater grips, great. But this one here should be the Ducati Performance Launch, but it looks like it's high beam, but it does actually work as Ducati Performance Launch. So just the decals are wrong, or the symbols are wrong. But the main thing is I had to turn it the other way around, but I think it actually looks better this way. So I'm going to get little decals to go over the run, because the run's upside down. All the other ones I'm not going to worry about, but I think I may be getting another unit actually made for this bike. So yeah, not sure. I think someone might have made an error or something at the factory. Wouldn't be the first time an Italian is sort of messed up a bit. But anyway, that's how it's kind of looking. We're going to go across the other side and do the other switch block. So we're going to remove the factory switch block and then fit it all up. Now, I am going to probably have to remove the front cowl because there's a lot of cables and stuff like that I need to get access to. So yeah, we'll remove that and then we'll start fitting the left-hand side switch block so you can have a look how it's done. All right, so I'm going to show you how to take the headlight / dash assembly off your Streetfighter. It's fairly straightforward. Now, you just want to be really careful with it when you're removing it. You really don't want to drop it because I can't see this being a cheap bit of kit, being the dash and the lights and everything. So yeah, just be careful. So what you need to do is you just need to start off by just unclipping these little flaps. That will show you 2 Allen key screws. I've removed one already, so you don't have to watch some random guy unscrewing. Then that will let you take this cover off completely. Now, you'll normally have the harness plug, which goes into the back of the dash and then through this little slit here. So what you need to do is pop this Perspex cover out. Now, I want to make note that I hate anything that's dark, smoked Perspex because it shows off scratches and marks. You can see there's already scratches and marks from it, and this is brand new and I haven't touched it at all. So I'm probably going to flick this off to Simon and get him to paint it satin black so it sort of just hides in and looks a lot nicer, but that's a side note. So yeah, so once you've done that bit, unplug that. You've then just got 2 bolts, 2 10mm bolts underneath, which are attached to 2 rubber bushings on the bottom, where the forks are. You just undo those, and then what happens is I'm going to flip this around very carefully. You've got 2 locating tabs here. So this is where the nuts go from behind. So you undo them. So then it will flap, and then you pretty much just lift it off like so. Let me show you. So say this is the front mounted on, you'll just literally lift and then pop it off, and this whole thing will come off, and then you can place it down. And I would actually love to have one of them as an ornament. I reckon someone should do like a mold of that and make it into a coffee machine or something. I reckon that'll look sick. Once you've done that, however, it will expose all the cables and wiring to the front end of your bike, which looks pretty cool. And it's also giving me something to look at as well. And I'm thinking I might need to modify a few more things. So let's go across and have a look now. And yeah, you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is what the Streetfighter is going to look like when you remove the headlight assembly from it. You've got 3 main plugs that need to be taken off. This one is to your dash. That's the one that you can take off that top cover and that Perspex cover, and that'll plug out. Then you've got one for the headlight and one for the daytime running lights. A couple of things to note. The first main one is those keen eyes might be looking at going, what's with his wings? I got them back from Simon painted and they look fantastic, but we'll go into that a bit later, so you shouldn't technically see that yet. And I had to kind of fit them on just to see what they look like, and they look amazing. The other thing I wanted to note is that if you have a look here, this is the actual plastic air cleaner housing. Remember the one we swapped out and put the Sprint filter in? And it's got 4 holes that lets the air into it, into the engine, combustion, all that stuff. But I was just thinking, how cool would it be if someone was to make a different one that got rid of these 2 middle sections here, because then it will give more area and more rammed air, because, you know, 208 horsepower stock's just not enough. But I just thought that's a cool idea. Now, while we're here, I'm going to be, like I said before, changing out the switch block. I'm also going to be getting rid of these horrible indicators. Now, I'm stealing a mod from like the Harley guys, and I'm going to be removing the indicators and putting wraparound. So not only is it going to sort of sharpen up the front end, but they're also going to be very sort of subtle and not visible. So that's a mod I'm going to be doing as soon as I change the switch block. So yeah, so that just gives you a bit of an idea of what it looks like and what you need to be looking if you're going to do any sort of these mods yourself. So yeah, let's get on to removing the switch block. Now also, before I get too ahead of myself, because there's so much going on and I keep forgetting to sort of, you know, tell everyone exactly what I'm doing, I have bled the brake and the clutch fluid. So there's no fluid left in it. please remember, if you're ever dealing with brake fluid, it's highly corrosive stuff. Wear gloves, blah, blah, blah. But the main thing is make sure you've got either panel wipe or water with nice clean microfibers, because if you do spill anything on paint and things like that, plastics, you want to get rid of it straight away. Get it off, cleaned, because it will damage, it is corrosive, it will damage finishes. So yeah, always be mindful and careful of that when you're playing with brake fluid. So anyway, let's carry on and remove the switch block and also the clutch master cylinder. Okay, so I've removed the grip, the spacer, the factory switch block and the clutch lever. Now, clutch lever, grip, all that stuff's pretty straightforward. With the switch block, it's a little bit different. You've got two tiny little torque spit screws on the bottom. It's the same size as, because again, I'm not a very technical person, but it's the same size as, you know, the 748 916 variant, the windscreen that they have. And you've got those tiny little torque spits. It's the same one as them. So if you've got a tool for that, then you'll be able to undo this. When you undo it, this bit will pop out, the bottom bit. So this is still on there, and you'll be trying to wrench that off, but it's not going to come. It'll actually, you may damage this. What it does have is this little like wedge, which there's a pre-factory hole drilled. Let me just find it there, and that slots in there, and then this slides in and then locks into place. So you've just got a little tab that you just need to lift off, and it will clip straight in, and it locks into place like that, clip. But if you want to undo it, you push it, and then it will slide straight off. So don't just try and rip it off, because she ain't coming off. All right, so we've got all that sorted. So now I'm going to start measuring the other side, and we'll do a preliminary fit with the switch blocks and then the clutch cylinder lever slash thingy bob. God, so many names of everything. All right, let's start doing that now. So these are the stock indicators that come off these branches, and then you've got your stock indicator. You can put the Ducati Performance LEDs on if you want, which look obviously a million times better than what these big bulbous things do. I did this mod on my Hyper, and I loved it because it just, people can't even really see where the indicators are. You've got to actually point it out, and they're really bright. They're probably brighter than stock. So we've got one of these. They're just a cheap aftermarket. Whenever I buy sort of cheap aftermarket, I always tend to buy about 2 or 3 different types of the same thing, because everyone's quality is better or worse, or it might not even work. So this one here, so this will be removed, and then just this wraparound will actually work. I don't really like all the colors in there, and I did have a better one, but it's so stiff it doesn't even bend, and that's why I bought a couple, because you just don't know until you get it. That's what happens when you buy cheap stuff. But no one actually does really good sort of wraparound fork lights that I've seen to work as universal. So yeah, so basically you'll take this one off. There's actually a clip or a plug under these cable ties, which is left and right. But again, like I said, we're going to be doing it so we cut no factory wires at all. So I'll show you all the parts that we need, and yeah, we'll start going from there and getting these off and whacking these on and making sure they work. Cool. So these are the parts that I have to swap the stock indicators for the wraparound. This is the one that I was talking about. This looks so much better, just all black. The only problem with it's like a brick, or so hard to actually wrap around, and it actually bends when you wrap around. So I don't know how that's going to wrap around anything. So that's why I buy a few. So that one we're not going to use. We'll use for something else another time that needs to be straight and not wrap around. So these are the indicators that we're using now. When I said no cutting and stuff like that, so yeah, nothing of the factory needs to be cut. So CNC Racing do these adapter plugs, which plug directly, let's get rid of that, directly into the OEM plug, and then you've got your 2 positive, negative for the indicators. So it means I can remove the stock one, plug this in, and away we go. Now, with this one here, I'll need to cut this. I'm going to chop these as well, because there's this new like miracle thing, which is awesome, which will slide over, and then you heat it up and it melts the solder and sort of crimps, shrivels the whole lot and keeps it yeah, working without me having to actually solder, because I'm not very good. So I can use a heat gun, so I'm good at that. So what I'm going to do is remove the factory indicators first, see our lengths, because I don't need like 10 meters of lead, and I want to sort of cut everything so it's sort of fairly similar to the stock units, and then fit them up. So yeah, hopefully it'll all work, and it'll look amazing, and I'll be really happy, and I won't electrocute myself. All right, let's go do that now. Move the factory front indicators and you can see they're pretty bulbous and long and sort of, you know, not that good looking. The bike already looks so much better without it. It just looks more streamlined. So we're going to sort of, you know, measure the stock length, add a couple of centimeters to it, and then we're going to cut the LED wraparounds and the CNC adapters, and then you can see as well the CNC adapter exactly the same as OEM, so that'll just plug straight in without having to cut wires. So then again, if I want to ever go back to standard, I can remove all of this off, plug this back in, and there's no cut wires. That's what I'm hoping anyway. So let's do this part now. Okay, so the whole front end's been reassembled. Everything's fitted up. We fitted the headlight back on, the dash, plugged everything in, made sure everything worked so I don't have a fail like the last video. I even charged the battery up because even though it's a new battery, this battery just doesn't hold charge. That, and added with the fact Ducatis tend to ooze electrical soul just by sitting there, doesn't help me. So the indicators are on, RCS, switch blocks, everything's in. You might see this little mirror. I'm just trial fitting. It comes from one of my scooters. It's a stage 6 one, and I think it kind of looks good. So I've ordered a set and we're gonna paint the orange and get rid of that. I'm not one for mirrors. I don't like mirrors. They just never seem to look right on a bike. They always look so much better just with nothing, but these will be good because I'll be able to take them off very quickly and then put them back on. So I think it looks okay. Time will tell. Now, the indicators I ended up having to go the black ones because the other multicolored ones just didn't work, didn't fit right. And I found a way that I could make them more malleable by heating them up and then, you know, curving them, and then as they cooled, they got hard. Wow, that sounds a little bit rude, but they do work, and I do really like them because they're black, they hide in, they slim the front end down, and they look good. So let's see how they look when they're on. So I'm going to turn it on. Yep, no more smoke, which is good. So if I hit that, the right hand side should be working. Is it working? Can you let me know? Okay, the back one's kind of working. Then the right hand side is working, and I think it kind of looks good. Stands out where it needs to stand out and sort of give other road users indication on going left or right. So I think all in all, it's a pretty cool mod. Gets rid of that big bulbous indicator, which is awesome. So that's it. So all right, I'm going to shut this off because it already says low battery, even though it's on charge. God, this battery's crap. So I just wanted to take time out and just sort of get something off my chest a little bit, and I really need to apologise to all the viewers. These episodes are getting really long. You know, it started off 10 minutes, 14 minutes, 15 minutes, now it's 20, 25, God knows how long this one will be. I'm trying to make it as shortened and condensed as possible. The only problem is that I'm doing so much to the bike and there's so many different things. You could spend, you know, each episode could be an hour. So I do appreciate those that watch it through to the end. And I love guys coming to the shop, giving me, you know, feedback. Oh, you should do this or try that. So, you know, again, I'm only learning with the whole YouTube thing. So yeah, apologies for it so long, but thanks to those that stick around. Those that are casual viewers, you know, hit the subscribe, like, share button. You might, I don't know, one day you might find something that's interesting that I do. So you never know. This is just a start of what's to come. There's 2 massive projects that I'm behind the scenes working on. They're going to be pretty big for myself. It's going to be the first time I've sort of tackled a project like that, but I'll make a promise to everyone that views that you guys will be the first to hear about it, and yeah, it's going to be a pretty cool thing. So I'll finish up on that note. Next week we're going to be looking at the rear the rear brake reservoir and sort of tidying up that area because I've got a couple of ideas on making it look a lot sort of simpler and streamlined. And there's going to be, you know, more and more parts coming in. Wheels, discs, a bit more carbon, and you probably also see I've put the wings on because we got them back from Motorcycle Panel and Paint, the tail section. We also go and see Lorenzo from Poly Motor Trimming for a seat. So there's a lot more to still come. There is sort of light at the end of the tunnel. I'm sort of estimating another, you know, 4 or 5 weeks, and it should hopefully be completed. And then it's just the fettling stage of just working out, you know, little bits that maybe I'm not happy with or things that I can do that's a little bit better. So again, thank you so much for watching. Apologies for the length of the video. And yeah, stay safe everyone, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.